Te Reo Ererangi o Te Mānia. This episode was produced in Otatahi by Plains Media, with support from New Zealand On Air.
This is Simply Nourish, empowering women through menopause and beyond. I am your host, Brenda Bickerstaff. Join me and my guests for an inspiring conversation about how they survived and thrived during this important new chapter of life. Hello and welcome to Simply Nourish, empowering women through menopause. I'm your host Brenda Bickerstaff, and sometimes one show is just not enough, and that was definitely the case with our guest Annie Wolfe. In part one, we scratched on the surface of her incredible Te Araroa journey, but there's still so much more to unpack. So Annie, welcome back today for round two. I can't wait to pick up where we left off. Are you ready for part two?
Absolutely, I am.
Fantastic. Hey, I was having a little listen back to part one, and there were a couple of things you were talking about that I'd just like to follow up on, if you don't mind. The first was when you were caving, and you said your husband, Sylvian, was stuck in the cave, like jammed into a cave for 30 minutes. How terrifying. How'd you get out? What happened?
We were with a guide, and the guide was absolutely fabulous, I have to say. He struggled for 20 minutes. He was getting Sylvan to move sideways, move forwards, just a little bit. You've moved 2 centimetres. You're getting there. Eventually, he realised that actually Sylvan is so broad-chested that he just wouldn't be able to get through the gap. And so where he had got stuck was actually within metres of fresh air, where I had gone through first, and I was standing in a little sort of area, and I could have climbed out and got out to the outside world quite easily. So eventually he said, look, Sylvan, just stay there. You're obviously not going to be able to get through this gap. And the guide climbed out and went all the way round and got back to basically where Sylvan's feet were, and helped Sylvan to come out backwards. And so Sylvan never actually got through that wee hole.
I reckon that would have.
But then, having got Sylvan removed out of the place where he'd got stuck, the people who'd gone through first had to then go back through the hole. So I went through this place where Sylvan got stuck. I went through twice.
How terrifying!
The guide was really good, and he was always really positive. There was a moment there where I was sort of thinking, God, we're going to have to get some dynamite out or something and to remove him. But he was so calm and organised, and Sylvan was actually really cruisy. He said the worst thing about it was that he had breathed out in order to squeeze through, and then having got stuck, he couldn't take a full breath, so he was sort of panting. But Sylvan he's a really cool fellow, and he didn't panic either, which helped me not to panic.
Goodness. Yeah. No, I can't. To be honest, I couldn't think of anything more terrifying. Just the thought of being in such an enclosed space.
Nor could I. No. If it had been me, I'm sure I would have been panicking, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. You also mentioned when you did a river crossing and it was quite dangerous, or you felt it was going to be really dangerous. You sort of got halfway across and we got to go back. And you said that you should have followed the Google Maps.
Yeah.
2-part question here. What's the reception like out in the wilderness, and why did you change what you were going to do?
Okay.
Annie.
in the Ahuriri basin, we actually got reception. You do get reception in and out. It goes in and out.
Can you just explain where the maps? Sorry, Annie. Sorry to interrupt. Can you just explain where the basin is, please?
The Ahuriri is after the Two Thumb Range.
Which is where?
Sort of southern Canterbury, between Canterbury and Otago.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, as soon as you cross the Ahuriri, you're into rabbit country, and there is nothing growing. It's just rabbit holes for miles. So the question was about cell phone reception. We got it. It came and went. And we had on our phones, both of us had various apps that described where the trail was. People had written in and said, this is where I cross the river, this is where they cross the river. And the river crossing we found was, it was a few weeks old, and I think I'm right in saying it was a few weeks old when it was written. And of course, with rain, with weather conditions, the river flow changes, the course of the river changes, and we looked at where the app had been telling us was a good place to cross, and we looked at it, and the water was quite rough and turbulent, and that turbulence can wash you off your feet. And so we decided that we would not go in the place that was turbulent. It may have been shallower, and actually, as it turned out, it was shallower. But we had decided that rather than go into the turbulent water, we'd go further upstream where the water was stiller, and maybe we were being cleverer than what these people who'd gone before us had found. Yes, but as it turned out, we were not cleverer, and we did bail. But we did all the right things. I still think we did all the right things.
Yeah, well, we're here to tell the tale, so that's good. You did do the right things. And the other one, the third one from from part one, is when you were talking about your 68th birthday, climbing up the side of the mountain. I think that was in the Richmond Ranges area. And wondering about your life choice, instead of sitting in a hotel room having a lovely glass of Chardonnay or something of similar taste. Now, and you said you looked back and you couldn't see your feet. It was just a sheer drop. Tell us about this mountain. I mean, is this safe?
Waio Pass is the pass that goes between the St. James walkway area and Nelson Lakes. It's the second highest pass on Te Araroa, and it's not vertical. It is steep, but it's not vertical. There are good footholds. You climb maybe 3 or 4 meters, and then there's a nice little ledge where you can stop and have a breather. But yes, when I looked down, I was holding on with all four, and you can't lean out too far because you've got a pack on your back. So you're actually leaning against the rock. So when I looked down, yes, it did look vertical. It wasn't, but it did look vertical. But you can't see down where your feet are going to go. And so, yeah, I just couldn't see where footholds would be if I was going to climb down. And the panic was not, it wasn't so much I can't do this. It was more a case of, this is ridiculous. It's my birthday. I shouldn't be out here. There were, I hadn't seen women of my age for some weeks. And there I was on a mountainside on all fours. Yeah, it was just a moment of, what on earth am I doing out here, rather than sheer panic. Yeah.
So in situations like that, what if someone's coming the other way? What if someone's doing Sobo, southbound? Yeah. And you run into each other in that situation?
Yes, yeah. And going over Waio Pass, and in various places, there isn't actually a set trail. It's not a narrow path. There are markers, and the markers will be within sight of each other, hopefully. Not always, but hopefully. And you work your way from one marker, and you find your own way up the mountain. So if there had been somebody coming down the other way, it is in all likelihood they could have been 30 or 40 feet to one side of me or the other. They wouldn't necessarily have been coming down in exactly the same place.
And other adventures in the South Island? Because obviously it's very mountainous and big rivers. We've talked about the Rakaia and the dangers of crossing that. Were there any other times during your South Island experience that you felt a little bit of extra concern, that you may, just out of the ordinary, that you were concerned about your safety or even Sylvian's safety?
It's actually interesting that you bring up the issue of safety. No, those were, I never felt unsafe. There is a book called Northbound, written by author Naomi Arnold. She lives just north of Nelson, so she's relatively close to where we live. And we met Naomi as she was walking Te Araroa. She did the whole thing all in one go. And I've just been reading her book, and she did it solo, and she commented that many times she felt unsafe if a car drew up beside her, because she was walking on her own, a single woman on her own. She felt unsafe, and she talked about that quite a bit in her book. But I guess because I was with Sylvan, and Sylvan, he is such a cool character. Even when you panic, he's, come on, we've just got to do it. We'll get through this. We're together. We will manage this together. That I really felt, I didn't feel unsafe as such at all. I guess I am really lucky with my husband, that he is such a cool character. Mm.
So he supported you through some of those situations when you're out in the environment where you may have felt that if I was by myself, this could be a different outcome, or I may have too much to do.
I would phrase it that I felt shielded from it. I am not the. I don't actually notice when things are getting dangerous. I lived in Malaysia for a wee while, and I was out with some girlfriends, and I said, "Oh, we can get back to our car by just going down this alley." And it was the light was fading. It was twilight. It must have been about 6, 7 o'clock at night. And both of them stood there and said, "No way, Annie, we're not going down that alleyway at this time of night just 3 women on our own." And I sort of stopped and thought, "Oh, yeah, I guess that was a bit it could have been a bit dangerous." So, I'm not overly aware of when I'm in a dangerous situation, which is probably just as well.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss, isn't it, as they say?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have no idea. Everything's good.
Yeah.
So you and Sylvan were together through the whole TA together, repeating myself there. Were there times where you felt lonely, or you wanted different company, or how did you manage the dynamics, like if things were getting tough?
When we walk, we tend to walk separately. I walk quite fast, and Sylvan, he's a lot. It's not that he walks slower, it's that he takes stops and investigates fungi on the ground, or he'll stop and he takes photographs. I take snaps. He takes photographs. He is careful about framing them and making sure that he's got what he needed absolutely perfectly. No overhead wires in the background, the trees are framing the picture perfectly, that sort of thing. So we do tend to walk separately. We, at night, on the odd occasion where we would have the hut to ourselves, or where we camped just on our own, it's quite nice to get back together at the end of the day and sort of compare notes on what he'd noticed and what I'd noticed. I'd walk on fast and find somewhere nice for lunch, and then sit down and wait for him. And it could be another 10 minutes. It could be half an hour before he turns up. We did talk about, we carry a PLB, a personal locator beacon. He carries it on his pack, and so I would go ahead, and if I fell and hurt myself, then hopefully I would be able to call him as he went past, so that we could call the PLB. But we did realize after a while that actually perhaps I should be carrying something. We never got around to it, but
there was a thought about it.
We thought about it. We thought about it. Sylvan was very good in letting me actually do my own thing, and like climbing out of some of the river beds, a deep incised stream, and to get out the other side there was a meter bank, and a vertical meter bank, which for somebody, I'm 165 centimeters tall, not super tall, and my legs don't bend as well as they used to bend. So climbing out of a riverbed like that is it's hard work, particularly when you've got a pack on your back. But Sylvan would often leave me to work it out for myself, which I think is good for my ego, that I can say I actually did do it on my own. There were a couple of places where, a helping hand was actually what I needed, particularly if the bank was slippery, and so pulling yourself up was going to be very tricky. There was one place, where were we? South of the Tongariro crossing, climbing out of a slippery bank, and it was all mud. I tried to get up it and I couldn't get up it. Sylvan came up behind me, and then he tried to get up it. And then actually I had to push him up to get up this slippery bank. And then he had to find himself a place where he could wedge himself so that he could just drag me up this slippery slope. So we did help each other. Sorry, I've forgotten what the question was.
No, you've answered it perfectly. Yeah. But your company, you were happy with each other's company and happy with your own company, and together that made for a great journey.
When we walked the North Island, which I didn't get to talk about a lot last time.
We will.
We came Sobo, and we came at the start of the season. So we were walking with a lot of other people. A lot of the people who started on the day that we started and on the day before us were all from overseas. I'm just checking that through. Yes, they were all from overseas. And a lot of the overseas people come and just do the nice bits. They don't cut out all the road walking and the boring parts. So we would walk with people, and then say goodbye to them, and then maybe catch up with them a bit later after they'd done, the bits that they wanted to do. A lot of overseas people will come over to walk Te Araroa, but they want to actually see New Zealand. It's not all about walking the trail. So they'll go off and do different bits and pieces and come back. The Te Araroa goes through the Wanganui River, and you actually do the Wanganui River Great Walk, which isn't actually a walk, it's actually a Canadian canoe. And we did that with two American ladies and a Taiwanese guy. They were really good company, that we could spend time with them and talk to other people and get other perspectives on what they were doing and what they were seeing and things like that. Yes, as we did the Wanganui River, I was really interested in all the history that you go through, and we had notes with us that would tell us what the iwi were doing and how they moved around this area, and their settlement within the area, and where the paths were, and and then as you go through Jerusalem, you get the history of Jerusalem and so on and so forth, and that really interested me. For people from overseas, it's of limited interest to them. So at the end of the day, I'd come back and say, "Okay, we've just been through that, and did you notice?" And so I'd be able to fill them in on bits that they'd been there enjoying the trees and the canyon and the way the river moved and managing the rapids and things like that. And I was taking on in other bits and pieces as well. So it was really good to be able to get together at the end of the day and then and share what we had gained from the day. Yeah.
What was it? Excuse me. What differences did you come across when you've got such, you're at the 60 plus year area, and you'll have walkers who are in their 20s. Is there a difference in their attitude towards how they approach things, how younger walkers go about it? Are they a bit gung-ho? Any advice you had to give them?
Certainly my impression is that younger people are more gung-ho than even I am. And we met a couple who had done the Pacific Crest Trail through the States, and they were long distance walkers themselves, light packers, and they had come with that. They didn't have a first aid kit. They didn't have a cooker. They didn't have a tent. They just had a tarpaulin. So limited in what they were carrying. And I just thought, well, if you break your leg, well, what are you going to do about that? A lot of the younger people.
Is that through arrogance, or just
no? I think it's just those particular people. They were about doing things fast and getting from A to B. There is a saying on Te Araroa that everybody does the walk, everybody does Te Araroa for their own reasons. They walk it their own way, and that is certainly the case. We walked it because we could, and because it was there, as Sir Edmund Hillary said, it was there. So yeah, a lot of the younger people are doing it to sort out things in their lives. The Taiwanese guy that we walked with just had come to a point in his life and needed to sort his head out and where he thought his life was going. The American women that we went with were doing it to see New Zealand and for personal growth reasons, I guess, if I was to quantify what they've told me. One thing I did notice is that at one point we were walking with, she was Swiss, he was Austrian, and they walked with earbuds in. And she said to me, do you ever listen to the radio? Do you listen to anything while you're walking? And the funny thing was that I had taken earbuds with me. I'd started with earbuds and we got to Tiano, so like just weeks into our walk, and I sent them home because I wasn't going to use them. And one of the nice things about walking is that, or one of the things we noticed was that you start out and your head is just buzzing with things that have gone on in your life and conversations you've had with people and working out the problem that you've just left behind you or how you're going to manage your relationship with this person that you've just had an argument with or whatever. There's stuff going on in your head. And after you've been walking for a few weeks, I think it's probably a couple of weeks, your head just clears of all this detritus from your everyday life, and your mind just sort of drifts, and it takes you all sorts of places. And then sometimes it's not drifting and you're really aware of what's going on around you. And for me, that's one of the things I enjoy about hiking is being able to let my mind just drift and let it go wherever it will go. But yeah, younger people seem to, a lot of them wear earbuds and are still tuned into the world, even while they're walking. Mm.
So with your mind as well, so a couple of weeks into it, you clear your mind of everything and you're so focused on where you are. how long does it take you to get your walking legs? Like a week into it, I could imagine walking for a week. I'd be pretty shattered and I'd need about a month to recover. Like, does it build up as you go? How do you manage
Certainly
the physical
for us,
side of it?
Because we started in Bluff, and the first day, well, it's really flat until you reach Longwoods. Really, you're not really climbing anything particularly high or anything. So we built up leg muscles, and certainly I was aware that by the time I'd got halfway up, not even that far, that my leg muscles were developing, and we were conscious of each other's legs and how shapely our legs were becoming. And by the time I finished the South Island, I was aware that my arm muscles, because we use hiking poles, I was aware that my arm muscles had also developed some definition, and we're looking good.
Midlife isn't about slowing down, it's about your comeback. At Simply Nourish, we fuel your energy, build your strength, and help you thrive through the menopause transition. Forget quick fixes. This is about real change, backed by science and led with heart. Join a community of vibrant women rewriting what's possible. Simply Nourish, stronger, wiser, and just getting started. So it's good to see that you're getting stronger and everything whilst you're walking. But what about illnesses? How did you deal with that, or did you have anything to worry about that way? If you're out in the middle of the mountains and suddenly you come down with the flu or something, you break a bone.
I was very fortunate. We neither of us ended up with anything more than maybe just a sniffle. The whole of Te Araroa, I got one blister, and that was walking 90 Mile Beach. I got one blister on the ball of my foot. But we walk with hiker's wool, which is just sheep's wool that's still got the lanolin in it. And if there's anybody out there who wants to take up hiking, take hiker's wool, because it is the marvelous prevention for blisters. As soon as you feel a blister forming, you put a bit of hiker's wool in, and it prevents anything more happening. Sylvan got one blister, as he got his blister a little later on, none on 90 Mile Beach, and that's usually where people get blisters, is walking the 80 odd kilometres of 90 Mile Beach. We got a little bit of trench foot, but we were both really, really careful about wearing clean socks, not wearing socks that had any grit in them, rinsing our socks really thoroughly, putting on dry socks in the morning. Sometimes that got a bit tricky. Sometimes you did have to put on damp socks. But we looked after our feet really, really well. There were a couple of times that we did have to take a bit of a break, but only for a day, in order to let our feet recover. We were also, we're lucky enough that we have got enough income that we could stop in a town and take a motel for a night periodically, and it was a luxury we afforded ourselves to do that, so that we could let our bodies have a good night's rest periodically. A lot of younger people, they won't have the financial resources to be able to do that. So I do recognise that we're fortunate to be able to do that. I was very aware that if we had broken a leg, if one of us had broken a leg, it would have taken a long time to repair it. And perhaps if we had broken a leg that would have been the end of our Te Araroa experience. So whenever we were crossing rough terrain, like coming through the Richmond Ranges, there's an area there that's very rough terrain, and you're boulder hopping for hours at a time. And I took it really, really carefully, because I realized that had I fallen, had I broken a leg, that would have been it for me. There's a place in the Te Araroa Ranges in the North Island. You come down, you leave Nichols Hut and you climb up to the top of Mount Crawford, and then the rest of the day is basically going downhill. And the last stretch down to Waitawaiwai Hut is very steep, and you're climbing down over tree roots and some boulders, and it is very steep. And I was very conscious of how slowly I was walking, particularly when you get a young 20, 30 something come bounding down the hill past you. See you at the hut, they say as they go past. And there's there's me taking it really, really gingerly, because I know that if I was to fall and hurt myself, that would be it. I've never broken a bone, touch wood, and I really don't want to. Yeah.
No. You've talked a bit about the South Island. We've talked a little bit about the North Island. Now, as I'm an avid follower of people who do the Te Araroa from a screen, maybe one day, I hear there is quite a difference between the two. What's your experience? What were some of the highs and lows of each island, the differences? What made one harder than the other?
The North Island is all about people. Because we walked at Sobo, which is the way that most people will walk, we walked with people a lot of the time. So we got to know a lot of people. Walking the South Island, because we did it Nobo, there were very few people that we met walking in our direction. Naomi was one, and there was a group of, I think they were Germans, that we met, German and one French Canadian that we met and walked with for a while, but that was all. So the South Island is all about the scenery. The South Island is all about the scenery anyway. That's what the South Island does in bucket loads. The North Island is about people and the trail angels. That there are some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful trail angels, people who open up their homes for us walkers, just for the sheer joy of meeting the walkers. We stayed with people who had walked it themselves and understood the need for trail angels, and they opened their homes for walkers. There were people who we met who just did it because it was a nice way of meeting people. There were people we met who did it because they were there beside the trail and walkers went past every day. If I could tell one of my lasting impressions of how wonderful trail angels really are, we got into Te Kuiti, and I had arranged to receive a parcel from a Christchurch company. Further faster, if anybody's going hiking, here's an ad for you. The best trail support that you could get. They were sending me up some socks and food and various bits and pieces. As we walk down into the town, I get a pinched nerve in my hip periodically, from the hip strap on my pack. And that particular day, the nerve was being pinched and was upsetting me. Sylvan was struggling with his pack and was getting a sore back. So as we got down into Te Kuiti, Sylvan sat down on the side of the road and said, look, we go left to the trail angel that we booked in with, and we go, right, to go and pick up the parcel. I can't go any further, he said. So he sat down on the side of the road and I left him there while I went into town to go and retrieve my parcel. I got to the shop where I was going to pick up the parcel, and I was limping around inside the shop, took my pack off and I said, I'm here to collect my parcel. And the woman said, I haven't got a parcel for you. There hasn't been one arrived. And I thought, oh no, what's this about? So I rang further faster, and it turned out that they had sent me an email to say that the colour of socks that I had ordered is not available, and could I get back to them and let them know if another colour was going to be okay? And I just hadn't read the email. And so they hadn't posted the parcel. And so I was there. Anyway, the parcel wasn't there. It wasn't their fault. No, it was mine. No. I should have read the email. But I was there in the shop, and I was limping around because my hip was hurting me, and trying to work out what to do about this parcel and what I could do to keep moving. And Sue looked at me and she said, you can't go and stay at the Trail Angel that you've booked into. He had offered us a caravan for one night, and then we would have to be on the garage floor. She said, looking at me, she said, that's no good for you. Look, here are my house keys. Go and help yourself. Go in the front door. The bedroom is here. There are towels there. There's the bathroom there. Go and have yourself a shower. The laundry is there. Go and wash your clothes. I was just somebody who walked in off the street. She didn't know me from Adam, and she was handing me her front door keys. And I just thought, that is just so trusting. They're there for me. That's what an angel is. That is, yeah. It was just what she offered was just so much more than I had expected, that I had even asked for. But I mean, she wasn't the only one. I would often write to a trail angel and say, have you got a couple of square meters where we can pitch our tent? And they'd write back and say, yes, you can come and pitch your tent on our front lawn or wherever. And then we'd turn up at the allotted place. They'd come and pick us up to take them back to their place. We'd get to their place. They'd say, right, there's the cabin. There's a bed made up inside. Here's a cup of coffee. Come and have dinner with us. We've got breakfast in the morning. And all you want is just a place to pitch your tent. And we were quite happy to be self-sufficient. But they'd go over the top and offer us so much more. And I cannot praise them highly enough. They are just, the trail angels in the North Island that we met are just the best people in the world. And at the end of walking Te Araroa, you sit down and you watch the news about the bombing here and the mass murderer there and this person who's done the ram raid here and all the dreadful things that are going on in the world. And you think, I've just spent 3 months meeting the best people. And you realize that actually what you see on the news is just it's a tiny minority of the people in the world, but out there are just some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people who I cannot praise highly enough.
At BBG Built, we're straight-talking builders who know the value of comfort, warmth and smart design. Whether you're planning a renovation or something new, we make the process simple and stress-free. Let's help you plan well and build better. Visit www.bbgbuilt.co.nz to get started.
That's so fascinating and wonderful about the Trail Angels. And I guess you do get more in the North Island, because in the South Island we're probably not as scattered along the trail as much. But it brings up that whole question of logistics. How do you get things around? Because you can't actually carry, I assume you can't carry mountains and mountains of food, medication. How do you work this all out?
About the food, when we were planning, I planned how long it would take to move between towns, and what the towns were that we could restock at. There are a few points in the South Island where you're not very close to towns. Birchwood Station in Southland. Yes, you're still in Southland there. You come out to this sheep station, and you're not very close to towns, and even the towns that you are close to probably wouldn't have big supermarkets or anything. So we sent out resupply boxes. I organised resupply boxes before I went. I have a friend in Nelson, shout out to Rayoni, who was my trail angel for the South Island. And we'd left her with boxes of gear that she could post out to us. I would text her and say, okay, send out the one that's addressed to Birchwood Station, send out the one that's addressed to St Arnaud. So she would send out these boxes as I needed them. But that did mean that I was packing boxes of food and medications and snacks and things, like 2 months in advance, 2 months before I needed them. Sylvan was very careful about counting out our meds. He's on medication from the doctor, but we also take multivitamins. We take a turkey tail, which is an antioxidant. We take lion's mane because that's we both have Alzheimer in our families, and lion's mane it's a mushroom that develops neural pathways. So that's a prevention for that for us. I take a glucosamine tablet just to help with the stiff muscles, and my legs don't bend as well as they used to bend, so it's just to keep me lubricated. And Sylvan counted out so that we knew exactly how many we would need, and then we would carry, I think he carried 2 weeks worth spare, just in case we got held up anywhere, or for any reason that we might have. So but they were all counted out, and we had them in the boxes ready to go. My medication, I don't have. No. Oh, yes, I do. I do have a medication. A doctor prescribed one, but that I only take it twice a week. So
no, you only take it.
Yeah, but what I mean is, we measured it out, and okay, so that much medication, and I'll need a new set in that box. So yeah, it was all carefully planned out, and periodically we would write to Rioni and say, okay, put the next box in the post, but can you add to it just another lot of whatever, because we've got held up or for whatever reason.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about, your legs don't bend as well as they used to, or the aches and pains, and especially as we go through menopause and come out the other side of it, these are the realities of going through this stage of life. So some women in midlife may feel restricted because of this. Do you feel like how you've tackled the TA has shifted your perspective on what we can and can't do as we get older?
Oh, absolutely. I used to do a little bit of yoga. I have done a little bit of yoga, and you go to yoga classes and there are all these younger people or people who've been doing it a lot longer than I have, and they can stretch and hold poses and much better than I can. And so I didn't really have much of a confidence in myself regarding my flexibility and strength come to that. Looking back in hindsight, I wish I'd done a bit more some Pilates or something like that to aid the stretching and build a bit of more muscle before I started. But I know that now that I can still do it, that I've still, everything still works well enough that I can still do it. And I was saying earlier that there were a couple of places where Sylvan had to help me through. But yeah, I can still do it. I'm still
good. What you
still
sure
there.
can.
I'm still good. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it's that old saying, you just use it or lose it.
Absolutely.
And we can still use it just because we are going into midlife or 60 or 70 or beyond.
Yeah.
No reason why you can't.
I don't know if I mentioned last time, but there was a lady in Invercargill who I spoke to about being an older walker. And she's been just slowly ticking off Te Araroa. Now, she's in her 70s. She's section walking and doing little bits here and there. But she's still doing it. She's still out there doing it. And she's had, I know she's had health issues. We're still in contact. But she's still out there and still pushing herself and keeping on going. Yeah. And that's really, when Sylvan and I talk about what it is we're doing with our lives now, the refrain that comes up is that, well, if we don't do it now, we won't be able to do it later. And the more we do it now, the more we can do for longer. We will be able to keep doing it for longer. If we just sit down and put our feet up and take it easy, then we won't have the facility. We will lose it and we won't be able to later. So yeah, do it now while we can, and hopefully we can do it for longer.
And I guess it's taking that first step, literally, isn't it? Because it can be quite scary, just the thought of actually walking the whole of New Zealand.
Well, I never thought of that.
Well, there you go.
I'm just going for a track today.
You just thought, I'll go for a walk and I'll just walk all of New Zealand.
It wasn't until we got to, it was after the Wanganui, that, with about 300 kilometres to go, I looked at the app and thought, we've only got 300 kilometres to go. And I did this little video. I stood there and I said, we've just got 300 kilometres to go. And I did a 360 of where I was. And 300 kilometres is absolutely nothing.
How many?
When you've walked almost, 2,700, another 300 is nothing. And so every 100 kilometres at the 200 kilometre mark, we're almost home. 100 kilometres marked. It's just another 100 kilometres to go. And at that stage, yes, I knew I could do it. I was still taking it easy. There was a couple of places that I thought, hang on, I can't fall here because I've
too
got
close.
70 kilometres to go. And
So what did walking the TA teach you about New Zealand? Like, you've mentioned the kindness of the trail angels, but what did it teach you about our country?
It's a wonderful country. I mean, you can probably tell from my accent that I'm English born and bred. And coming to New Zealand, it was always about coming to somewhere with space. And I think that's probably what I learned is at the top of some of those mountains, top of some of those passes, I looked out around us and it's just bush forever. And I just felt like I could breathe. It's I don't know if I can explain it properly, but out there with all that space around you, it feels like I can finally inhale and there is space around me to be able to do that. And even in the North Island where there was the amount of bush that you're walking in is so restricted. There is so much space out there, much space, so much. Yeah.
In part one, we talked a little bit about, the Longwoods Forest, and you talked about, the mud, etc. and the potential of having to possibly boardwalk it to save the forests. Can you, because of the popularity of the TA, what are some of the concerns you think may be future problems for the trust that runs the TA, or having people walk it? Because we're getting huge amounts of people coming in now every season.
Exactly. And Silver and I had many conversations about how you could regulate that, or because the numbers coming through will wear out the trail angels. I mean, as it is, there are some walkers who are really thoughtless about what they expect of trail angels, and maybe in other countries overseas, trail angels fulfill a slightly different function, or they manage the situation differently. But I do feel for the trail angels and what is expected of them, and how they are abused by some people. So, yeah, the numbers of people who walk Te Araroa is a worry. I worry altogether about immigration. Don't get me wrong.
We won't go there in the subject, in this show.
But the number of people coming through, I'm not sure that New Zealand can cope with the numbers.
Yeah. And just on that the trail angel, I had read some things. Some of the people coming in are really quite rude, disrespectful, take for granted. So, and some even question paying the fee. It's like, well, hello.
Yeah.
We've got to maintain this for you.
Yes. Yeah.
So just about finished the TA, just about finished part 2. So very quickly, because we do this every session, very quickly. You're in Australia at the moment. This is your current big adventure. And in about 2 minutes, tell us what are you doing?
Okay, my husband and I bought a camper van here. His mother was Australian, so he has lots of cousins over here who he hasn't met. So we're partly going around meeting cousins and second cousins of his, but we also want to do a lap of the country. We've got a 4-wheel drive camper, and so we want to do some off-road stuff. Having said that, in 2 days' time, we're flying off to the Northern Hemisphere, back to England to meet up with my old school friends who are turning 70 next month, this month and next month. Anne and Jenny turn 70. Then we're back to finish off our tour of Australia.
Fantastic. So one final question for you, Annie.
Yep.
Before we wrap up, I'd love to ask you this. What do you feel has been the greatest gift this stage of life and your adventures on the Te Araroa have given you?
The greatest gift is what I was saying about knowing that there are good people out there. That really was a tremendous gift. That the number of fabulous people that we met. That's the greatest gift for me. But also that knowledge that there's still a vital woman inside of me. Yeah.
And age is not holding her back.
Oh no. I have to think twice when people ask me my age.
Well, you should be you should applaud yourself, because it is phenomenal. It's fantastic and it's inspirational.
Thank you.
So Annie,
I hope I do inspire people, other women of my age, to go out and actually push yourself and try something that can I do this? Or because whether you can or whether you can't, it's not relevant. It's the trying that's the issue.
Yeah, that's part of the journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Annie, what a joy to continue our conversation today. It really has been. Your honesty and your adventure reminds us all that this stage of life can open new doors and possibilities we may never have imagined. To everyone listening, I said this after the first part, but perhaps Annie's story, and just like what we were saying, will encourage you to dust off old dreams, take that first step, or try something you've always wondered about. Because as Annie has shown, those first steps can lead to incredible places. Thank you for sharing your journey and for encouraging us to all step into our own. You've been listening to Simply Nourish, empowering women through menopause and beyond. With me, Brenda Bickerstaff. I'm a certified, registered and an experienced nutritionist and menopause coach. I'm passionate about supporting women to thrive during menopause with personally tailored science-backed nutrition and lifestyle strategies. You can find more information at simplynourish.co.nz. We will have a new episode for you on the second Sunday of every month at 5 p.m. on Plains Media. So mark your calendar and tune into 96.9 FM and plains.org.nz or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcast or YouTube. You can also support Simply Nourish, empowering women through menopause and beyond by leaving a review. Stay up to date with the show on Instagram at Simply Nourish NZ and Facebook at Simply Nourish, where I also share the latest health information and strategies to support your menopause journey. Brought to you by BBG Built, your builders of choice, and Simply Nourish. Take care, trust yourself, and remember, small steps for big changes.